Hi everyone. Narration, reported speech, direct and indirect speech, or direct and indirect narration, or direct and indirect discourse. These are the titles given to the same English grammar topic that we have been studying in the previous lessons. This English grammar topic assumes a great importance whether you are studying at the graduation level or you are preparing for any other competitive exams like SSC, that is Staff Selection Commission, probationary officers in banks, National Defense Services, or even civil services. So, for that reason, we are studying this topic in detail. In the previous lesson of the series, I introduced the basic rules for the conversion of the direct into indirect speech, and now let's explore more about these rules. Dear students, if you have watched the previous lesson, then you can quickly connect to this one. In case you haven't watched the previous one, let's just have a quick recap of those three basic rules or steps for the conversion. I think it will be helpful for you if we understand or learn each and every step for the conversion in the sequence they occur or they are applied to change from the direct to indirect speech. In addition to this, there are some concepts, some grammatical concepts that you should know before you understand the rules for the conversion. यद्यपि इन concepts को previous videos like parts of speech, elements of a sentence and tense, time and aspect में discuss किया जा चुका है, but still let's have a quick revision. The first concept is what is the subject and what is an object in sentences. The second one is what is first person, what is second person, and what is third person. And the third thing that you should know is what is tense. Let's understand them through examples. Simi said to Mark. In this sentence, Simi is performing the action of speaking. Simi is the doer. So, Simi is the subject. On the other end, Mark. Mark is receiving that action. So, Mark is here, the object of the sentence. Now let's take up the second concept. First person, second person and third person. In fact, this concept is based on the concept of point of view. Basically, there are 3 points of view in English. First person, second person and third person. If you remember, in the beginning of this lesson, we listened to a conversation among Simi, Mark and Gia. In that conversation, Simi was the speaker, Mark was the listener, and Gia, she was not present there, but she was being talked about. So, Simi is the first person as she speaks. And Mark is the second person as he listens, or he is the person who is being addressed. Simply, जिसे संबोधित किया जा रहा है. And Gia is the third person. She is not present there, but she is being talked about. जिसके बारे में बात की जा रही है. So, that is the third person. You can refer to this chart for the clear understanding of first person, second person and third person. Now, let's look into tenses. What is a tense? Well, simply कहा जाए तो tense एक verb form है जो कि हमें 2 बातें बताती है. Number 1, the time of the action and number 2, the state or degree of completeness of that action. To understand this concept completely and in detail, please refer to the link in the description. I believe आप सभी को ज्ञात है कि tenses के 3 types होते हैं, present, past and future. And further they have some more divisions like simple, continuous, perfect and perfect continuous. Well, now it's time to take the steps for the conversion. The first and foremost thing while changing from the direct to indirect speech is that you should identify the reporting verb. The reporting verb is in the first clause of the sentence where it describes that who tells something to someone. It means जब भी हम direct speech को indirect speech में change करते हैं, then first step should be identification of the reporting verb. आप identify करें कि उस sentence में reporting verb यदि present और future tense में है तो reported speech का tense परिवर्तित नहीं होगा, but यदि reporting verb past tense में है, इसमें change होगा, यानी back shifting of the tense. Statements के केस में generally जो reporting verbs use की जाती हैं वो है say, tell or explain. But if the reported speech is interrogative or there is a question in that reported speech, then in that case the reporting verb may be ask. The second step is replacing the comma with the conjunction word that. Well, which comma is this? The comma which follows the reporting verb like said, tell, say, explain, etc. This step also includes the removal of the inverted commas, the speech marks or the quotation marks. Now, which quotation marks? The quotation marks in which the actual words of the speakers are placed. These speech marks are removed because in the indirect speech, we are not going to quote the person. So, no requirement of these speech marks. Please notice this step in this given example. Well, now let's know what's the third step. The third step is changing the pronouns. Dear students, इस रूल को clearly समझने के लिए हमें यह जानना आवश्यक है कि first person, second person and third person pronouns क्या होते हैं. Well, let me explain it. In English grammar, the personal pronouns are grouped into one of the three categories. The first person, like I, we. The second person, you. And the third person, he, she, it, and they. Now let's know three important aspects or points while dealing with this changing of pronouns from the direct to the indirect speech. Well, this is a bit difficult in the beginning to remember all these three concepts. Therefore, I'll give you a classroom trick to remember these three concepts. The first point is the pronouns of the first person in the reported speech like I, we, me, my, our, us, they are always changed according to the person, number and gender of the subject of the reporting speech. Dear students, I believe by now you have been able to identify or recognize the reporting verb and the reported speech. Let's understand this point with an example. Nancy said to Priya, I have informed the manager. Here, in this example, the first person in the reported speech is I, and it's changed according to the subject of the reporting speech, that is Nancy. So, Nancy is a third person female. So, I becomes she in the indirect speech. Now, Nancy told Priya that she had informed the manager. Now let's take up the second example, and that will take us to the second rule for changing of pronouns. Seema said to him, your project seems interesting. When we change this sentence into the indirect speech, it reads like this. Seema told him that his project seemed interesting. In this example, the second person pronoun in the reported speech, that's your in this sentence, is changed according to the object of the reporting speech. And what's the object of the reporting speech here? That is him. So, in the indirect speech, the pronoun, the second person pronoun your will be changed into his. यानी हम इसे simple words में कहें तो रिपोर्टेड स्पीच के सेकंड पर्सन प्रोनाउंस को रिपोर्टिंग स्पीच के ऑब्जेक्ट के नंबर, जेंडर और सब्जेक्ट के अकॉर्डिंग उसके बेसिस पर चेंज किया जाता है. So, simply the pronouns of the second person in the reported speech change into the person and gender of the object of the reporting verb. The third point while changing the pronouns is the third person pronouns like she, he, it, they are not changed at all. For example, Mohit said to me, "She is a disciplined girl." The indirect speech of this sentence is, Mohit told me that she was a disciplined girl. Did you notice the third person pronoun in the reported speech are not changed? In this example, the pronoun she remained she, no change. Please remember, the pronoun you may also be changed to I when the person being talked to is not named in the direct statement. For example, he said, "You look disappointed." The indirect speech of this statement would be like this. He said that I looked disappointed. So, as we do not have the object of the reporting verb, अर्थात इसमें हमें यह ज्ञात नहीं है कि यह बात किससे कही जा रही है. इस केस में सेकंड पर्सन प्रोनाउन को फर्स्ट पर्सन प्रोनाउन में चेंज किया जा सकता है. But always remember, reported speech के third person pronouns में कोई भी change नहीं होता है. As I promised that I will give you a classroom trick to remember all these 3 steps for changing the pronouns. There is an acronym that is SON, also called SUN. And just place 1, 2, 3, number 1, 2, 3 below this. Below S we will write 1, below O we write 2 and below N we write 3. So this 1 refers to first person. So the first person is changed according to the subject of the reporting speech or reporting clause or reporting verb. And the second person is changed according to the object, and in the third person there will be no change. So this S stands for subject, O stands for object, and N stands for no change. 1 is the first person, 2 is the second person, and 3 is the... Well, in this lesson we have studied in detail these 3 major steps of changing from the direct to indirect speech. Now in the next lesson we will study next 2 steps in detail. So stay tuned. See you in the next lesson. Thank you for joining. Happy learning.